They didn't just disappear, they were erased. No signs of struggle, no clues to follow, and no logical explanation. From a man who vanished mid-train ride to children swallowed by a frozen lake that shouldn't exist, these vanishings don't fit any pattern. Some left behind haunting messages. Others simply stepped into places they were never meant to enter, and never returned. These are the disappearances so bizarre, they challenge everything we think we know about reality, and what lies beyond it. Welcome to Unsolved Archives, where we delve into the hidden, the mysterious, and the unanswered. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your insight could be the key to unlocking the truth. The Vanishing of Ethan Voss. Ethan Voss was known for two things: unshakable curiosity and an uncanny ability to capture nature's raw beauty. A 28-year-old freelance photographer in Bozeman, Montana, he built a modest reputation shooting mountain landscapes, wildlife, and extreme weather. In July 2013, he pitched, and secured, a commission from an online magazine to photograph rare high-altitude lightning storms in the Bitterroot National Forest near the Idaho border. Few ventured so deep without a guide, but Ethan insisted he'd done his research, bought top-tier survival gear, and mapped his route using satellite imagery. On July 8, Ethan arrived at the Darby Ranger Station before dawn. He signed backcountry permit forms, acknowledging risks like storms, bears, and exposure. Ranger Clara Mills remembered him as focused and oddly inquisitive. He asked about magnetic anomalies and unexplained radio static. He seemed eager for something strange. His plan: hike in with 2 days of supplies, set camp at 8,200 feet, and wait for storms over the Continental Divide. On July 9, he messaged his editor via satellite phone, heading up by noon. Expect stunning shots. We'll touch base in 48 hours. It was the last confirmed contact. Trouble emerged 3 days later when Ethan missed his check-in. Clara organized a search party of Forest Service rangers and local volunteers. On July 12, after climbing through timber and across talus slopes, they reached his planned site. What they found was eerily pristine: Ethan's bright orange tent staked neatly, entrance facing east. His pack lay unzipped, nothing missing. A nearly full water bladder hung from a branch. Nearby, his tripod stood on a flat rock with the camera still attached. The final photo on the memory card chilled the searchers: a silhouette at the tree line, backlit by lightning. No features, just a rigid human shape seemingly frozen mid-step. No footprints, no struggle, only wind whispering through pine needles. They collected his gear and began grid searches radiating from the camp. Helicopters scanned with thermal cameras. No trace. Ground dogs briefly caught a scent near a creek bed, but lost it on rocky terrain. An hour later, they barked at an empty thicket. Some volunteers swore they heard footsteps echoing off canyon walls, but flashlights revealed only trees. Nightfall halted the search. In the following week, more teams combed the area, extending their efforts to a narrow cave system half a mile from the site, where past hikers had reported humming sounds and eerie lights during storms. But the caves revealed nothing: no clothing, no gear, not even a footprint. Speculation swirled. Some believed Ethan succumbed to hypothermia or was struck by lightning. Others invoked legends of wilderness vortexes, alien abductions, or secret government experiments. Blog theories exploded, from electromagnetic anomalies to uncharted sinkholes. Yet no theory held up. No lightning strike. No collapsed ground. No machinery or foul play. Clara Mills found the most unsettling clue in the camera's metadata. That final image, of the silhouette, was time-stamped 7:46 p.m., yet weather logs showed no storms within 50 miles. The closest lightning occurred an hour later, 20 miles away. How had Ethan photographed lightning that wasn't there? Some speculated he captured something beyond known meteorology. His unfinished work was published posthumously in a special edition titled Chasing Ghost Lightning. It featured breathtaking storm shots, time-lapse of clouds over crags, and that final image. Magazine sales soared, but for Ethan's family, every page was a reminder of a vanished son. His father, Marcus Voss, a retired Navy SEAL, led an exhaustive independent search. He hired investigators, dredged rivers, and offered rewards. In a letter to a forest biologist, he wrote, "He was never reckless. He loved this land. If he's gone, I need to know why." After 2 fruitless years, he accepted the heartbreaking likelihood that Ethan might be lost forever. Since then, Ethan's story has become modern legend. Hikers near the campsite report eerie sensations, voices in the wind, phantom shutter clicks. Photographers who camped there tell of drained batteries, corrupted files. Still, some venture out, chasing the same mystery that drew Ethan. None succeed. A decade later, the Forest Service keeps a small memorial plaque below the ridge. In memory of Ethan Voss, 1985 to 2013. May we find peace in the unanswered. Clara Mills, now a senior ranger, preserves his tent in storage, untouched, a silent relic of an unsolved vanishing. On stormy evenings, she often watches clouds roll over the bitterroots and recalls Ethan's last words, "I'm seeing something strange up here." And she wonders, did he ever leave the forest? Or, in chasing the perfect shot, did Ethan capture something no camera was ever meant to see? The Lake Kharzan children. In the remote expanse of Russia's Sverdlovsk Oblast, hidden among snow-covered pine forests and untouched taiga, lies Lake Kharzan, a vast, frozen mirror for most of the year, isolated from roads, towns, and even satellite coverage for days at a time. Despite its haunting beauty, the lake is nearly unknown, absent from most modern maps and deliberately ignored by locals. Those who live nearby speak of it only in hushed tones, if at all. Some say it's cursed. Others say the lake listens. On February 23, 1998, 5 children, ages ranging from 10 to 13, vanished near its frozen shore. They were students from the tiny village of Borisk, population 118. The group included 2 brothers, Pavel and Yuri Antonov, their cousin Nina, and 2 of their classmates, Artyom and Katya. All were bright, healthy kids raised in a place where nature was as much a teacher as any classroom. The winter had been unusually mild, and the children, on break from school, decided to camp for a night near the lake's edge, a tradition among older children in Borisk for generations. Though it was discouraged during winter months, the children packed a tent, sleeping bags, matches, and food, and set off on sleds down the trail toward the lake. They were last seen by a local farmer who waved to them from his field just before dusk. They were never seen again. When the children failed to return the next morning, panic spread quickly. A search party, made up of villagers and regional police, set off before noon. They reached the lakeside by evening, and immediately sensed something was wrong. The children's tent was discovered 30 meters from the lake shore, half collapsed. It hadn't been torn or disturbed by wildlife, but rather seemed as if it had been abandoned mid-setup. One sleeping bag was unrolled. The others were still in their packs. A small pile of firewood had been arranged neatly near a stone ring, unlit. 2 sleds leaned against a tree. Footprints led away from the tent, but only about 15 meters, before stopping completely. Not fading, not scattering. Just stopping, as though each child had vanished mid-step. As temperatures dropped, the search expanded. Volunteers scoured the icy shoreline and wooded perimeter. Dogs followed faint scents that led to the frozen lake, but halted at a strange formation near the edge. A patch of perfectly clear ice, oval in shape, surrounded by frost patterns resembling concentric rings or spirals. Beneath the ice, there was no sign of disturbance, just a perfect, still void, descending into dark water. Then came the symbols. Rangers discovered deep carvings on birch and pine trees within a 50-meter radius of the camp. Not Russian. Not Cyrillic. Not even resembling known languages. The symbols were sharp and geometric, almost mechanical in style, interlocking triangles, grids, and spiral motifs etched with surgical precision. One of the symbols, repeated on 3 different trees, resembled an eye surrounded by rings. A linguistics expert from Ekaterinburg examined photos but found no match in any known writing system. With no progress after 4 days, regional authorities brought in a geophysicist, Dr. Viktor Roskov, to examine the ice and terrain. He recorded strange electromagnetic fluctuations near the frozen lake, especially in the area around the clear oval. His instruments detected pulses at regular intervals, almost like sonar, radiating outward through the ground and bouncing back. "It's as if the lake is transmitting," he said during a recorded interview. "But not in any frequency I recognize." The day after Roscoff's visit, the lake froze solid again, completely opaque. The clear patch vanished, as though it had never existed. A week after the disappearance, a piece of clothing was found, a child's scarf, identified by Nina's mother. It was frozen into a vertical sheet of ice, nearly 5 feet off the ground, draped over a bare branch. It hadn't been dropped. It had been placed. The search was officially called off on March 11th, though volunteers continued to comb the woods for months. No bodies. No tracks. No blood. No evidence of foul play. The investigation concluded with an official statement of exposure and disorientation leading to presumed drowning. But no one in Borisk believed it. In the years that followed, stories began to spread, strange ones. A group of campers in 2005 reported hearing laughter echoing from the treeline, hours after setting up their tents near the shore. When they investigated, they found 5 sets of small footprints in the snow, barefoot, leading nowhere. In 2011, an amateur paranormal investigator named Alexei Yudin spent 3 nights at the site. On the second night, his equipment picked up a short-wave transmission lasting just 17 seconds. The audio, crackled and broken, was reviewed by a Russian audio analyst, who confirmed what many feared, a child's voice repeating a single word in a panicked tone. "Pomagite! Pomagite! Help me!" Then, in 2016, a fishing drone lowered into the center of Lake Kharzan recorded something chilling. At a depth of 30 meters, the camera revealed smooth stone formations, impossible for a glacial lake, arranged in a perfect circle. In the center, a pillar, carved with the same triangular symbols found on the trees. After that footage was leaked online, the Russian government placed travel restrictions on the area, citing environmental hazards. A military-grade surveillance station was quietly installed 12 kilometers from the lake, and drones began patrolling the perimeter. The official reason was wildlife conservation. To this day, no one is allowed within a 10 kilometers radius of Lake Kharzan without government clearance. The forest roads are now gated. Satellite images of the lake are blurred. The village of Borisk has dwindled to less than 40 people, most too afraid to speak openly. But the parents of those 5 children, now older, weathered and tired, still gather every February 23rd. They light candles in a small chapel on the edge of the forest, whisper prayers not just for peace, but for return. The Hollow Commuter. In the heart of Tokyo's meticulously efficient commuter rail network, where trains are timed to the second and surveillance cameras monitor nearly every corner, it seemed unthinkable that a person could simply vanish. But on the morning of October 11, 2021, Kenji Yamazaki did just that. Kenji, 41, was an unremarkable man by most standards. He lived alone in a modest apartment in Setagaya, worked as a systems engineer for a cybersecurity firm, and followed the exact same routine every weekday. He boarded the 7:03 a.m. Keio Line train to Shinjuku, bought a black coffee at the station kiosk, and walked precisely 120 meters to his office building. He had done this for nearly 6 years, rain or shine, holiday or not. On that October morning, Kenji left his apartment building at 6:48 a.m., just like always. Security footage from the lobby confirmed this, as did a time-stamped message he sent to a coworker at 6:51. "Big fix pushed last night. Will confirm results soon." He walked the usual route, tapped his IC card at the station gate, and was seen boarding the 7:03 a.m. train on security footage from inside the carriage. From that point on, Kenji was never seen again. When he failed to arrive at work by 9 o'clock, his supervisor, Ayako Sato, assumed it was a sick day or minor delay. But by noon, his phone went straight to voicemail. She emailed. No reply. Concerned, she checked with building security. They confirmed he had not entered the office. By 4 o'clock, she filed a missing persons report. The police quickly accessed the train station's security system. They tracked Kenji boarding the train, but never disembarking at Shinjuku or any other stop. His IC card showed no exit scan. Dozens of cameras lined the train route. Not a single one showed him leaving the train, collapsing, or interacting with other passengers. It was as if he had simply ceased to exist between stations. The train conductor and staff were questioned extensively. None recalled any disturbance or passenger matching Kenji's description. Several riders seated near where Kenji stood that morning were interviewed. Most were unable to recall anyone standing next to them. One woman hesitated. "I thought there was someone there," she told detectives. "I remember stepping aside when I boarded. There was a man, but now, I'm not sure. Maybe it was just empty space." Kenji's family and co-workers were stunned. He was not the type to run off. He had no known enemies, no criminal record, and nothing in his life to suggest he wanted to disappear. A thorough search of his apartment revealed no signs of struggle or hasty departure. His computer, meticulously organized, showed no unusual activity. But in the recycle bin, authorities found a recently deleted file, a document named Where They Go. The file was a short, cryptic list. Each line featured a date, a time, and a single sentence. October 11 to 7:03 a.m. I hear it again, between stations. Like breathing in metal. September 22 to 7:05 a.m. Reflection in the window didn't match mine. August 3 to 7:04 a.m. Everyone was frozen except me. Only for a second. July 14 to 7:03 a.m. Door opened between stops. No station. Just dark. Police dismissed the file as notes from a personal story or dream journal. But his colleagues knew better. Kenji wasn't creative. He didn't write fiction. His life was grounded in numbers, schedules, systems. A week later, Tokyo Metro officials quietly admitted a baffling detail. At 7:04 a.m. on October 11th, just after Kenji's train entered the Shin-Nakano Tunnel, a 1.8-second surveillance blackout occurred. The blackout was localized to the interior car where Kenji had boarded. It wasn't a power outage. Footage from the rest of the train remained unaffected. That single camera, Unit 43K, cut to static, then resumed. In the resumed feed, Kenji was gone. With no plausible explanation, online theories flourished. Some claimed the blackout was evidence of a digital manipulation, a cover-up of foul play. Others believed Kenji had become a victim of a so-called transit fold, a concept borrowed from obscure urban legends in Japan, in which certain locations act as thin points in reality, portals, traps, or erasures. Then came the strange reports. 3 weeks after Kenji's disappearance, another commuter, Minato Takagi, stepped off the same 7:03 train at Shinjuku and fainted on the platform. When she woke up, she was disoriented, shivering, and mumbling. She claimed she'd seen a man standing in the tunnel wall during the ride, embedded in the concrete, watching. He was mouthing words, she whispered. But there was no sound. Just static. And his eyes were bleeding. 3 days later, an amateur train spotter reviewing footage from the 7:03 train's daily rides noticed something peculiar in several frames from October 18th. In reflections from the windows opposite the camera, there appeared to be a figure that didn't match any visible passenger. He stood at the far end of the car, facing the camera, unmoving. When enhanced, the figure's face was featureless, just pale skin and 2 black circles where eyes should be. Police attempted to replicate the camera error. They could not. Kenji's case was closed 6 months later, officially marked as an unresolved missing person. But within the Tokyo Metro Company, a quiet protocol was introduced. Every camera on the 7:03 a.m. train is now checked manually by a staff member each morning. A secondary protocol requires that security officers ride Car 3, the one Kenji disappeared from, on a rotating basis. Unofficially, rumors swirl among the staff. Some whisper that Kenji is still on the train, not in body, but as some kind of trace, stuck in the space between stations, in the signal blackout. Conductors report hearing phantom footsteps in empty cars. One said he caught a glimpse of a man's reflection in the conductor's glass, despite being alone. Kenji's IC card has never been used again. But 3 months after his disappearance, at precisely 7:04 a.m., a transaction appeared on his work account. A single, silent purchase from the coffee kiosk in Shinjuku Station. A black coffee. The Hawthorne House. Tucked away in the dense green hills of rural Vermont, past winding roads and sleepy hamlets, sits the Hawthorne House, an elegant, three-story colonial with white siding, black shutters, and a porch that stretches the length of its front. To the casual passerby, it appears abandoned but intact, frozen in time like a painting behind glass. There are no signs of vandalism, no overgrowth strangling its frame, no boards nailed over the windows. The house simply sits, silent, waiting. Its history is as neatly preserved as its appearance. Built in 1851 by William Hawthorne, a wealthy textile baron, the house was meant to be a summer retreat for his family. But tragedy struck before the first season ended. William's wife, Clara, and their two daughters drowned in the nearby creek under circumstances that were never fully explained. Rumors of Clara's madness, or of the children wandering into the current on their own, abound, but the official report was vague. William left the home that same year and never returned. The house passed through a series of short-term owners, each leaving after only a few months. By 1908, it had been deemed unfit for habitation, though the reason was never officially recorded. The disappearances began in 1956. The first was an aspiring novelist, Matthew Keene, who traveled to Vermont seeking solitude to finish his manuscript. He checked into a local inn and, after asking around, became intrigued by the stories of the Hawthorne House. On the morning of October 3rd, he told the innkeeper he was heading up to explore it. He never came back. Police found his rental car parked at the end of the long gravel drive. The house's front door was slightly ajar. Inside, everything was undisturbed, save for his leather-bound journal on the entry table. The last line read, "I hear her singing upstairs." Over the following decades, others vanished. A photographer, a pair of urban explorers, a documentary film student, a retired police detective. All had told someone they were going to Hawthorne House. None ever exited. The strange thing is this: every person who went missing left behind their belongings near the entrance: phones, keys, notebooks, cameras. But once they crossed the threshold, they were gone. No signs of struggle, no blood, no indication of a departure through any other exit. Authorities eventually padlocked the house and posted no trespassing signs, but the building itself was never condemned. Even when police sealed the house, the next time someone entered, the locks were mysteriously unbroken. Local kids dared each other to approach it at night, but few ever made it past the porch. Then, in 2019, Carl Denning arrived. Carl was a 32-year-old skeptic and YouTuber who ran a channel devoted to debunking paranormal myths. His videos were part ghost hunt, part comedy, and always heavily edited for dramatic effect. But with his audience declining, he needed a boost, something real, something viral. He decided to film a full-length live stream inside the Hawthorne House. He arrived with 3 cameras, motion sensors, EMF detectors, and a backup battery rig. "Let's end the myth," he said to his viewers. One man, one night, inside the house that eats people. Carl entered at 4:08 p.m. on June 14th. The door creaked open easily. His camera panned across the entryway, a grandfather clock, still ticking. Dustless floors. A silver tea set on the sideboard. "It's like a museum in here," he muttered. "Or a stage set no one ever cleaned up." He explored the first floor. Nothing unusual. Dim light filtered in through sheer curtains. The kitchen was clean, stocked with plates and a single empty pitcher of water on the table. No drafts. No sounds but the occasional creak of settling wood. At 5:12 p.m., Carl climbed the staircase to the second floor. His voice grew quieter. "It's cold up here," he said. "Much colder. Like someone left a window open." But there were no open windows. Just tightly shut, curtain-draped glass that looked out over the still lawn. Then something strange happened. At 5:24 p.m., all 3 of Carl's camera feeds cut to black simultaneously. The live stream continued, but only with audio. For 6 hours, Over 4,000 viewers listened in real time to what can only be described as shifting. Footsteps that paced back and forth. Breathing. Occasionally, Carl's voice, soft, confused, as if talking to someone. Or something. Where did the stairs go? Wasn't this door open before? Who's humming? The humming, low, melodic, feminine, recurred throughout the night. At one point, Carl whispered, "I'm not alone here. She's watching from the mirror." Then silence. Heavy breathing. Then, nothing. At 11:43 p.m., the stream abruptly ended. Police were dispatched to the house the next morning. They found Carl's car. His equipment was near the entrance. But inside the house, nothing. Not a single trace of him. The tea set had been moved. A chair pulled out from the dining table. The grandfather clock still ticked. But Carl Denning was gone. His disappearance made national headlines. The live stream was downloaded, analyzed, and replayed by paranormal enthusiasts and skeptics alike. The full 6-hour audio track was eventually removed from YouTube due to copyright strikes, though no one knows who issued them. One audio engineer who analyzed the sound profile claimed that faintly beneath Carl's voice, beneath the humming, the creaking floorboards, there was something else, a layered signal, almost like a repeated whisper played at a speed the human ear couldn't register. He slowed it down. What he heard made him abandon the project entirely. It said, in a child's voice, "You shouldn't have come upstairs." Today, the house remains locked, but the brave, or foolish, still try to enter. Locals report that at night, a pale blue light can be seen flickering in the upstairs window. Others say they've heard a woman's voice singing lullabies when the wind dies down. The forest around the house is strangely quiet. No birds, no insects. Those who pass by keep driving. And those who stop, well, most keep their doors locked and their eyes forward. They don't look at the windows. They don't listen. They just keep going. The Meridian Signal. In the western reaches of the Sahara Desert, beyond any marked road and hours from the nearest outpost, sits a stretch of sand known by the few locals who dare speak of it as Al-Sifr, the Zero. The landscape here is unremarkable to the untrained eye, endless dunes, scorched rocks, and searing wind that seems to whisper in broken tones. But those who've passed through say compasses fail there. GPS flickers. Radios pick up strange static that doesn't stop even when the device is turned off. In 2007, a joint international science expedition set up camp in this desolate region to study the area's unique magnetic anomalies. The team was composed of 9 experts, physicists, geologists, and engineers, from France, Algeria, and the UK. Their goal was to investigate reports that electromagnetic instruments frequently went haywire across a particular 10-square-kilometer zone, where aircraft avoided flying and satellites often lost tracking lock. They called their mission Project Meridian. Base camp was established on May 18th. Solar-powered sensors were deployed, drones flown, and large antenna arrays raised to pick up data from across the frequency spectrum. Over the first 2 days, the team detected unusual bursts of extremely low-frequency signals, imperceptible to the human ear, but consistent and repeating. These weren't natural, like lightning or tectonic interference. They were rhythmic, intentional. Dr. Lucienne Marin, the French physicist leading the team, described the signals in her field notes. It's like a heartbeat. One long pulse every 41 seconds. It doesn't vary. And it never stops. On May 21st, at 2:03 a.m., all communication from Project Meridian ceased. When Algerian authorities dispatched a search team 4 days later, what they found made headlines that were quickly buried. The camp was intact. 9 tents in a perfect circle, all equipment operational, solar batteries charged, meals half-eaten on metal trays. Not a single sign of a struggle or departure. The satellite uplink was online, broadcasting, though no one was on the other end to hear it. All 9 researchers were gone. Personal belongings were untouched. Passports still in bags. Data drives and notebooks neatly placed. Even a chess game in one tent had its pieces mid-play. but not a footprint or drag mark indicated anyone leaving. The sand was undisturbed, perfectly smooth, as if the wind had erased every trace, or nothing had moved at all. Stranger still, when investigators accessed the local server's logs, they found audio recordings captured the night of the disappearance. At exactly 1:59 a.m., the low-frequency hum intensified. The pattern shifted from one pulse every 41 seconds to one every 7. Then, voices, unintelligible at first, like chanting underwater. Then a sound like glass breaking in reverse. Then silence. Just before 2:03 a.m., a final entry was recorded on Dr. Marin's voice log. She whispered, "We found it. The Meridian is not a location. It's opening." Then static. Then nothing. Satellite imagery from that same night revealed something else. Between 2 o'clock and 2:05 a.m., the area around the camp flickered, an anomaly in the infrared band. For those 5 minutes, the desert heat signatures reversed. The coldest areas glowed white-hot. The rocks radiated in symmetrical lines. It was as if, for a few moments, the laws of physics reorganized themselves. The next day, all returned to normal. No trace of the team was ever found. Not by thermal drone, satellite, or man. Months later, a geologist at Oxford reviewing backup sensor data noticed something buried in the background of the hum, a secondary signal, riding atop the main pulse. Slowed down, it revealed a 5-tone pattern, eerily close to the one used in 1977's wow signal incident. But the tones, when converted to base 26 alphabetic pairs, spelled something: Meridian. Officially, Project Meridian was deemed a tragic loss due to disorientation and exposure in a harsh environment. But those involved in the cleanup know better. Their silence has been consistent. Their files, locked behind international security clearances. Still, things seep out. In 2012, a smuggled photo made its way to a dark web forum dedicated to lost science. The image showed a crude carving in a rock face near the camp. The symbol appeared to be 2 overlapping circles, one jagged, one smooth, connected by a spiral. Beneath it, words in French, say "ICIK le temps expire." This is where time runs out. Those who visit the perimeter of Al-Sifr today report strange sensations. Tinnitus. Dizziness. A sense that the sky feels closer than it should be. Radios begin to hum without power. Watches slow down, or race ahead. And always, just barely at the edge of hearing, a deep, mechanical tone pulsing through the sand like the world itself is breathing from beneath. One nomadic Berber guide who agreed to take a journalist within viewing distance of the Meridian site only did so under strict conditions. No electronics, no metal, and no names spoken aloud. "It is not a place," he said, staring toward the shimmering dunes. "It is a threshold. If you walk too far, something listens." In 2020, a private drone operator, unaware of the area's history, sent a survey drone over the coordinates formerly marked as the Meridian camp. The drone returned one image before cutting out, a spiraled impression in the sand, like a massive fingerprint pressed from below. At its center, a perfect circle of glass, roughly the size of a man. It had not been there before. None of the missing scientists have ever been found. No evidence of human remains. No bones. No message. Only the hum. Every case adds a new layer of mystery, leaving more questions than answers. Which one lingers in your mind, and what's your take on what really happened?